whether that's a presidential director authorizing that the U.S. arm the Israelis with nuclear arms, I don't think so. Because if there were, if this were a big, long-standing, covert project to arm them, I think it would have been done differently. I don't think the Israelis would have been, sneaking around in Pennsylvania, or that David Lowenthal, who is in close contact with Israeli intelligence, would have financed the plant. I think this was an Israeli covert op that when it was the lid was blown off, I think the president found it in his interest not to do anything about it. Just another side note, this book, Israel and the Bomb, which is a great book by Avner Cohen, talks about how David Ben-Gurion arranged with Abraham Feinberg, who was a big Democratic fundraiser, that he should, he was going to be one of the people financing the Israeli nuclear weapons program. Ben-Gurion told him, according to this book, to, basically get that youngster Kennedy back on board, that he shouldn't be making all these moves to inspect Dimona, blah, blah, blah. And he was really, Feinberg was the point man for getting this thing financed and keeping the heat off it. He was an incredibly powerful person right in the heart of the administration. Now, again, whether he was passing around papers saying, hey, my boss in Tel Aviv has told me to make sure that we get this uranium one way or the other, I kind of doubt it. I kind of think this is much more subtle than that.
Who is or who are MEGA? Do you know?
No, I haven't gotten that file yet. I don't even know who to send a FOIA to. Do you?
No. I mean, I guess I always just assume it was Henry Kissinger or something, but what the hell do I know?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, can you tell us anything about MEGA? Who's MEGA for people who never heard of him or them?
MEGA is the spy who was picked up on some sort of tap between two Israelis who were talking about some problem. And they said, well, maybe we should give this to MEGA. And the other one said, no, be quiet. We don't use MEGA for that. And I think that was in the context of something having to do with the 67 war. I forget the exact content. But it was obviously referring to somebody high up in U.S. officialdom who was in a position to pull strings.
I was thinking it was in the 1980s or something, that it was more recent than that. Well, I know, let's see. The first report of it that I know of was something that Bamford unearthed from the NSA that was published in, I think, 87 or something. But I don't know how old the information was that it was referring to.
Yeah. I'm not up on that. I don't have any FOIAs out on that. But basically, yeah, you're right.
Shoot, I got Google right in front of me here. You talk and I'll search for the date.
Okay. Yeah, I think you are right. I think it did refer to something more recent. I think I got the conversation right. But basically, other theories were that it might be our favorite Israeli ambassador, Brookings Institution, naturalized U.S. citizen, Martin Indyk. But I don't like speculating about who the spies are. I'd rather get files saying who they are. It's much more entertaining. Of course, much more challenging as well. One of the things that's interesting, though, getting back to the GAO document, is that it really does show via the GAO that there really was no will to investigate. And so, that you have to follow all the way up the line from all the agencies involved. And what you basically have is going to the top of the FBI, the top of the CIA, an unwillingness of the president to pursue this. And the fact, again, that Ford was the one who reinitiated it, kind of tend to think that maybe he did that out of ignorance. So what did you find?
Well, I keep finding the quote here, and it was in 1997, not 87, that the Washington Post published the quote, and you paraphrased it pretty much perfectly here, but I don't see the let's see, the exact quote. This is not something we use MEGA for, if people want to Google that. I don't see anybody saying the date of the intercept so far here. Yeah, well, just the fact that there's such a person as Mega that we don't use for stuff like this, who's apparently never been prosecuted. This guy Ben Ami Kaddish, nobody seems to think that he was Mega. I mean, whoever this Mega is, he's either in the U.S. or in Israel right now, sipping tea, right?
Right, and I think that's part of the problem. Jonathan Pollard was a low-level guy. Another person, Edward Smith, who is finally did some time for trafficking in some nuclear triggers, ran overseas for 11 years before he came back and finally went to jail. But the big fish in that case, who was a big Hollywood producer, never went to prison, never even spent a day in court over that. So what we have in the United States is really an elite level, and this goes all the way back to the smuggling days of the Sonneborn network, when they were moving tanks and stolen 50 caliber machine guns from under the noses of Marine guards over to Palestine to fight. All of the big funders of this kind of illegal activity enjoy a level of prosecutorial immunity that I don't think has ever occurred in any country, with the exception of Sicily and Italy, and the mafia. It's absolutely astounding. If you look at all that's been accomplished that was blatantly illegal, that really wouldn't matter if a president had signed a piece of paper, because basically his only job is to uphold the Constitution and the laws of the land, as far as I know.
Well, the problem with that is that includes the National Security Act of 1947 that says he can direct the CIA to do things if they feel like it or something.
Well,
he can do whatever he wants.
You're right on that point. The
Yeah.
CIA
But no,
has
you're right about the level of absolute impunity going on here, and it's worse than the British leading up to World War II in terms of infiltration by a foreign government of this government. And it's like Harry Brown always said, it ain't the abuse of power, it's the power to abuse. This is what we get for being a world empire. We got a tiny little nation state the size of Maryland over there, jerking us around, stealing our nuclear material, lying us into war, and getting away with 100% of it.
That's what people should be mad about, and that's one of the reasons why I disagree with people who say this lobby is American as apple pie. The people at the bottom who are donating and maybe doing some political work are as American as apple pie, but the leadership is rotten to the core, and it's been attacking this country from within for so many years. I mean, basically, the files I've been able to get under FOIA, whether it's the economic espionage that was happening in the 80s, whether it's a more recent case with Rosen and Weissman, everything that they've been doing has not been as American as apple pie. It's been attempting to get this country into another war. It's been stealing, basically, from American industry by diverting trade in ways that are certainly not free trade, but are unhealthy, and securing privileges for their foreign principals. And they refuse to declare at the upper levels of the lobby. We tried back in the 60s, but they refuse to declare that they're foreign lobbyists doing what they're doing, and, the abuses are heaped upon abuses.
Yeah. Well, I guess it just should not go without being emphasized here, the story of Jane Harman.